Hey, Nemo.
Hey, Jared.
How the hell are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm thriving.
What are you doing here?
I am here because I got invited, along with you, to be a speaker at the Breakwater Festival in London.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know how I got that invite. I think you set it up.
Yeah, I think Cassidy, who's one of the coordinators, I think she was asking me for representation among the ex-religious crowd. And you're a homie. You popped into the mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, how'd you like it?
It's good. I mean, Breakwater, estuary protocol, they're all said randoing. They're all these weird in-group terms for this community that know what all this is. I didn't know what any of it was, and I deliberately didn't look into any of it before I went. I did a Jared. I was like, I'm gonna not investigate this in any way until I actually gonna get there on the ground and find out what's going on with people. So, yeah, I mean, for me, that's kind of what that was. But could you explain what on earth Breakwater Festival was?
I'm still not entirely sure that I know. I mean, so the estuary group and this little community that's sprouted up and around Paul Vanderklay is a group of primarily Christians, though not exclusively, who are genuinely interested in, I mean, it sounds so cliche to say reasonable discussion, dialogue. But sincerely, this feels like the group of Christians where they are not threatened by disagreements, hard conversations. I'm always commending the Mormons because I feel like I don't get the jump scare when I tell them I'm an atheist. Often.
But I mean, we've talked about how you do get that jump scare when you tell them that you're ex-Mormon.
Yes.
That's the thing that's threatening to Mormons.
Right. But, here, I don't think that you would evoke a jump scare if you told them I'm an atheist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a nihilist.
And one of the questions I put forward we ended up doing one of these estuary protocol conversations, TM,
which I quite liked.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Again, it's just something about the way that it's spoken about. Maybe it's this American way of speaking or something. Just gives me a little bit of cringe, but maybe that's just a cultural thing. And that's no disrespect to those who run it, because I did enjoy it. And I think one of the things I put out there, hoping to kind of engage this a little bit, because the way it works is you go around and you get to put a question on the table, and then you vote as a group on what topic you want to discuss. And so mine didn't get picked, but mine was, why are certain groups or religious groups not threatened by diversity of idea and thought and opinion, and others seem to be?
1,000%.
I wanted to dive into that, because this seemed to be a group that wasn't.
Right.
And I've obviously had a lot of experience with groups that are.
Yeah, and I don't know what types of things constitute that, but it is fascinating. I'm curious to learn further. To kind of set this up, one, to answer the question of I do think the estuary protocol is kind of an American thing. Maybe it's because Americans are so divisive and so bad at conversation that we need a formalized structure in order to make us do it. So the estuary protocol is kind of like a format for having discussions, and it's in order to make it flow very freely, and to kind of hone in on what a group of people is interested in talking about. So you do I think 4 rounds, is that right?
3
or 4?
Yeah, something like that.
So the first round you go around,
introduce yourself,
and you do an introduction, and you give a little bit of background, and then the second round you go around and you pitch something. You pitch anything that you want to talk about. You want to talk about aliens. You want to talk about, is God dead? Objective morality, being an ex-Mormon. You can pitch anything, any topic, personal, religious, whatever. Then the third round, you go around and you vote on what thing you want to talk about. And you say and you can't vote for yourself. You say, hey, I like that topic. That's a thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently as well. And then the fourth round, you just dive into discussion. And I this is the first time I've ever done it. And it's funny because I've known about Paul Vanderklay for a couple of years, and I've kind of heard some of this jargon through the grapevine. But now having done it in person, it's this does feel like a more substantive way of having conversations, because, you know, like post Steven Crowder, post Charlie Kirk, where it's like, yeah, like I'm here like to have discussions, but the discussions are often, you know, in the guise of a debate. Or they're a debate in the guise of a discussion.
Conversation. Yeah. And that's what I was worried this was going to be.
Right.
For sure. That's like my experience of the sort of evangelical crowd by and large is okay. And I was ready for that.
Yeah.
I felt primed for that. But it turned out not to be the case, which was quite a pleasant surprise.
And there were a few moments of disagreements.
But they were just disagreement rather than debate, which felt good.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about how Bethel McGrew and I sat for maybe a couple of hours at dinner as I just prodded and poked at her sort of Christology, essentially, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like on the other side of the table, making sure I didn't need to like be a referee in this thing. Like, but you guys were fine.
I just kept looking over to give Jared this look like I'm having a great time.
Yeah, you were.
As I just kept. I've always been that little kid that asks, but why? Like I think. I don't believe in reincarnation, but you know, maybe Socrates has found his way into me.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? There's a real simplification of the Socratic method. It's just, but why?
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, sometimes that is kind of what it can be.
Is that why you have such a penchant for hemlock?
Very possibly, but we won't tell the internet that.
Fair enough. Anyway.
But I felt it was quite interesting to be amongst evangelicals as an ex-Mormon.
Yeah.
There's like a feeling of victory in the room. That, he's not like a Mormon anymore. Like from certain people.
Yeah.
Certain attendees, we will say. And then other attendees, you could tell they really just wanted me to come join their church.
Right.
And I said this a few times on the weekend. Now I know what it's like to be a non-Mormon in a room of Mormons.
Yeah.
Where they're like baying for your blood in the sweetest way possible, right? They so want you as part of their group in the nicest way possible.
Yes.
And so I never felt uncomfortable. I never felt but I felt like prey at times.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. More so among, well, I guess I can't even say that. I was going to say more so among the crowd than the speakers.
Oh no, that's how I felt. Yeah, definitely. It was like attendees who were coming there to advocate for their thing, and they wanted to see if they could drag me to that.
Yeah.
Rather than the speakers, who I think were by and large just very interested in listening to what I had to say and what I had to bring to the table as someone of my experience. A lot of them didn't know a ton about Mormonism.
Yeah.
Which was great because it meant I got to kind of elucidate that for them.
Yes, and I'm so grateful you were here, because that's always one of the things that I'm like trying to stress to evangelicals is they often have kind of a dichotic view of like, oh, well, there's, you know, the there's religion, which is just evangelical Christianity, and then there's atheism. And it's like, no. You guys, like, you know, any arguments that you make, it has to hold its weight when you're also comparing and contrasting with Mormonism. So yeah, I'm super grateful.
So we had a couple of panels. So the opening one was Faith Deconstruction with Elizabeth Oldfield, with an unnamed speaker who's ex-Muslim, so we won't name her.
Right.
And then you and I, and who else was on that panel?
I think it was just the four of us.
I think it was just the four of us.
Yeah.
Because then the next panel was four as well.
Yes.
But yeah, so that first panel was really lovely to discuss, and I think particularly having Elizabeth there, she holds space really nicely.
Yeah.
It wasn't a debate setting. The next panel got a little bit more debatey.
A tiny bit.
And I felt like partly that's because I turned up.
No, I think it was going to
be.
No, I think it was going to be contentious either way.
Okay.
And you know, usually I kind of shut my mouth when it comes to giving pushback to, you know, beliefs and things like that. But I had some gripes to pick with the apologetics world, and so I kind of let that be known.
And so you and I were having a chat just before you were prepping for it, and I was like, I have thoughts. I had stuff I want to say. So I asked one of the organizers if I could jump in on that panel, and she very graciously allowed me to jump in. So I'm then sat there next to Nathan Jacobs, and then you on my left, and then Bethel McGrew was on that panel as well.
Yeah.
So you've got Nathan, who was just trying desperately to say he wasn't an apologist.
Yeah.
And I think fair enough, that's the point you wanted to make clear, but he did see a value in certain forms of apologetics. I think Bethel was way more down the road, like down the straight, as like, yeah, she does engage in apologetics, but she has criticisms of the what did she call it?
Apologetics industrial complex.
That's what she called it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, she has kind of a love-hate relationship with it. And then I think my whole contention with it is just, hey, like, apologetics is fundamentally the idea of starting with your conclusion and then trying to build an argument to support your pre-existing conclusion. That's why, like, a lot of seminaries have statements of faith and doctrinal agreements that you have to sign up for, and it's like, you can't change your opinion while you're there. You know, if you were to do an exhaustive analysis of the early church fathers and the New Testament, and you were to conclude, hey, I don't think the Trinity is legit, you can't change your opinion because of the institution. And I think apologetics is just, you know, fighting to confirm your existing ideas and prejudices.
To me, it is a very defensive posture, apologetics, and that's kind of one of the points I brought up from my experience with Mormon apologetics. Is it's often the net to try and catch people when they're trying to leave. It's that thing to try and give them a reason not to leave. It's often that defensive thing. It's a defense of the faith. It's like, okay, well, here are the reasons why you should believe it. And I think I pointed to the fact that that's just not particularly compelling to many people. Because they're not making those decisions purely rationally.
Right.
And that's often not how they joined the faith. They didn't join the faith through reading apologetics very often. And so why would that be the thing that stops them leaving?
It's also kind of like a unique one-way street. This didn't come up in the conversation, but the thing that's funky about apologetics is, like, you know, if I were to walk into a church tomorrow and say, hey, I just want to give my life to Jesus and I want to become a Christian, they'd be like, great, you know, sign here, you know, like, and there's a, you know, an easy access point where you can just walk in regardless of your reasons, whether they're emotional, irrational, fideistic, apologetic. It's like, they don't care how you got to that position. You're just welcome to come in. But then when you leave, it's like, well, but have you read this book? Have you considered this argument? And that's always been really interesting to me. So it's like, if it's not necessary on the way in, why is it necessary on the way out?
And that was kind of my point, was like, that's not how people end up in. Why would you use that on the way out? And I think it then leads into because it wasn't necessary then, because that's not what you were trying to do to convert people into faith. You were trying to engender a spiritual experience. And this is kind of part of the conversation I was having with Bethel over dinner, was the idea that ultimately, I don't think you can logic your way into believing the Gospels. I don't think you can, through a textual analysis, say, well, I believe these because they seem true on a textually analytical basis. It's like, well, no, I find them compelling and I believe them. They speak to me in a certain way. Cool.
And
fine.
That's still like a strand of Christianity that is so interesting to me. Like, it still kind of like strikes me as unique and quirky as a Protestant, you know, former Protestant evangelical, where we were speaking. Bethel was speaking to the Muslim speaker, or the former Muslim speaker, who is now a baptized Christian. And it was so curious, like, because she was really hammering Bethel, like, but like, I don't think that argument for the resurrection makes sense. And she was almost like, wait, this is
your
Christian.
position. Why are you not on my side here?
And you know, she's like, I just don't think that argument holds up. Like,
I loved that.
I did too.
Because she joined in this conversation after me.
Yeah.
And I would say, oh yeah, no, we've just been talking about that. And this speaker would say, oh, well then I'm like, no. I want to hear your thoughts on it too.
Yeah.
Like, please, you know, share your thing as well.
And she's a very, like, you know, intelligent,
very intelligent,
highly academic woman. And at the end of it, she was just like, I just don't know. Like, it speaks to me and I think it's legit. It's like,
and I do wish sometimes people were a bit more open about that.
Yeah,
right. Christians were a bit more just like, hey, this just speaks to me, this compels me, in a way that I don't fully understand, and I don't need to convince you of.
Sure.
It just compels me.
Yeah.
And that would make it easier for them to accept when other people say, and it doesn't compel me.
And that almost feels like the inverse of what I do when I speak to Christians now, because they ask me, like, why I'm an atheist, and I don't tell them. I don't say, because I'm not really interested in, like, pontificating about it or debating it. I mean, I'm still interested in those discussions, but, like, I'm tired of the fisticuffs.
Yeah.
And
You're just like, hey, I just don't find it compelling.
Yeah, I just don't think it's legit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the end of it, and then we can move.
But
past
they want
it.
a why. The thing is, they want a why because they do find it compelling.
Right.
And that's where the apologetics and stuff starts to engage, and that's where some of the. And I don't want to feel like I'm trying to say this in a way that should Bethel watch this, which she probably will, she'll feel well represented in this conversation.
Will she? Right? Is she a member of your Patreon?
Oh no! This is going to go out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Word.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't want her to feel misrepresented, and I would love to have a conversation with her on the channel and have some of this conversation out in the open in that way as well. But I could genuinely see the confusion on her face at times. She was just like, does not compute your position. And I get that. And I also feel the same way about some of the arguments that she was putting forward. And I think rather than trying to avoid that, rather than trying to avoid sitting in the discomfort of that, actually acknowledging that, okay, this just doesn't compute to me. This just doesn't compel me, this just doesn't make me feel the thing that I think you ought to be feeling.
Sure.
Is actually, I think, more fundamental to it than people realize, and I think they want to get rid of the discomfort, get rid of the possibility that someone else might not be feeling it, and go, well, if I can just give them enough reasons, they will. And I'm not saying that's not necessarily what she was trying to do in that instance. We both said a few times we were just having the love of the debate, having the discussion, and it was truly a wonderful time.
I wish I could have been
more of a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
So it was a really good discussion. So I'm not throwing any shade at Bethel there, but that is to say, I think sometimes I would try and draw the discussion back to, I think it is about faith. It's about what you believe rather than what you can prove. I think that's kind of one of the points of religion. Certainly from a Mormon perspective, one of the arguments for why the gold plates are no longer around is because if they were here, you wouldn't need faith. Now, make of that what you will, but I think underpinning that is a very real acknowledgement that religion should be about the place where sort of facts and evidence end. It's about what you believe about the things that we don't know, like what happens to us after we die, like where the world came from, which is a more settled issue now than it was maybe a few thousand years ago, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you make of the people who attended this thing?
I would have wished for more representation from the non-religious.
Really? So that's interesting because I was going to brag on, how many of my fans showed up, and I was so overwhelmed with how many, deconverting people or ex-Christians or, born into atheism, and, people who are now exploring religiosity. There was one young man there who took me up on my go to church pitch, and his whole thing now for the past year has been hopscotching around to different cults and denominations, and he's so fascinated and enamored by it.
He's kind of the one that stood out to me.
Really?
I didn't really see much else of that, but maybe I spent less time amongst the masses than you did.
I wonder,
because you had more fans there. I had a couple of people who kind of knew what I did, but this was your moment. I was really enjoying kind of basking in you having your moment this weekend. It was really fun to watch all these big names come up to you and say, I really love what you're doing. I was like, oh man, Jared's doing so well.
That's wild. No, it still feels weird. That anyone listens to.
Yeah, I mean, we won't name them, but if you think about who we're going for lunch with later, right? There's some really cool people that you're getting to meet through this,
which
and I'm getting to meet through this.
Blown away and humbled.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. No, I mean, that is interesting because the Christians who were there, brought some of their posse, but I liked all of them.
Yeah, no, I loved hanging with them. I felt I just would have loved to have seen. I guess my point with it is that it's great that the Christians in this circumstance want to have these sorts of more open conversations and want to have this. But if it's contained still within their Christian world, then they're just disagreeing internally, and it could start to feel a bit navel-gazy. I wanted to see more of the outside brought in.
That's fair. I mean, I'm comparing this to the Bless God Summit, which was Cade Bradley and I were the only two atheists there.
Okay.
And so compared to that, it's hey, a quarter of the people here aren't religious. That's pretty neat.
You reckon it's about 25%?
I would say so.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
more than I thought was there.
Okay,
Then.
sure.
Fair.
And you know, I still think that even if you're the only atheist in the room, it's still worth going to an event like this.
Oh, sure.
And this is kind of one of the things I've been sounding the alarm about more so is like, it's important to be in dialogue with people, and it's important to go and investigate, you know, various religious groups so that you understand them, but that works both ways. I think it's important to go and explore these religious communities so that they understand you, right? So that you go and be an investigator at a ward or, you know, somebody who's curious in a mosque. Like, it's important that those people see you and have like a realistic understanding of who you are.
I felt like particularly the evangelicals in the room left with a better understanding of Mormons and possibly a kinder perspective on Mormons than they entered with.
Yes.
Which I was proud of being part of, you know, and helping with that. And I think interfaith dialogue is so important now, and a lot of it seems to center. Cynically, it seems like a lot of it, particularly from the LDS perspective, a lot of their interfaith dialogue seems to be very enemy of my enemy is my friend type things, where it's like, okay, we're struggling now as a religious institution to have the political sway we once did or whatever.
Right.
Who can we align ourselves with to better increase our influence and or whatever, right? So on an institutional level, that's what seems to be going on in Mormon interfaith dialogue. And I would be much more interested to see genuine interfaith dialogue on a much smaller scale between the regular congregants of the Mormon Church, just learning about other people's belief systems. Because for so long, growing up Mormon, you're so insular and you're so just convinced that everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to bother learning what it is they have to say. And I think that's antithetical to what Joseph Smith said, where he said, "Seek ye out of the best books, words of wisdom and knowledge," and blah, blah, blah. Like the idea that actually you should take from everywhere and bring it in. And when the church was starting, that's what they did. They took Methodists, they took people who were of different religious backgrounds and just melting potted it, which we don't see so much now.
It's interesting. I wonder if Latter-day Saints actually have kind of a better understanding of like who the average non-Mormon is because they often do missions.
Maybe.
Whereas I feel like with evangelicals, ironically, it's in their name, you know, evangelize. But they do less of it, but they hear about it from the pulpit a lot more.
Right.
And I think evangelicals are notorious for having this kind of like made up fictional idea of what an outsider or what an atheist is. I mean, you watch the God's Not Dead movies, and it's like, you've never talked to a non-religious person.
Yeah.
Like the caricature that you have whipped up is so comedically bad. And it's like, I want to grab those people by the shoulders and say, I love you too much to let you imagine this fabrication of who I am, or who Nemo is, or who, you know, who any of my atheist friends are.
Yeah, there's this caricature of who Mormons are, right, through things like the Godmakers, Ed Decker's film and things like that. There's this idea that Mormons are polytheistic. And all these things are like technically true, right? But they're given maybe more weight than they have within the actual day-to-day lived experience of Latter-day Saints. But I think I'm hoping to go to the one next year in the Netherlands. These are people I definitely want to spend more time with and certainly understand better.
Yeah.
And engage in. My goal in coming to this was to get out of my little Mormon bubble of apologetics. To see that there's a bigger world of Christian conversation that's going on and try and maybe understand that a bit better.
What do you think you've learned from this group?
From this group, I've learned that, particularly from my conversation with Bethel, that there are some people that are really seriously digging into Bible scholarship in a way that I don't think many Mormons do. I think you look at Dan McClellan, and he's a Bible scholar, and he also happens to be Mormon. And he feels like an outlier. You talked about it last night at the pub. Mormonism has no theologians. And I really felt that lack in my own biblical knowledge this weekend of like, I feel like I don't understand the Bible nearly as well as any of these people.
Wow.
Because Mormon theology is so focused on modern day revelations and the words of prophets and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
We're not getting into discussions of why do we even believe the Gospels? Because you believe the Gospels because they're writing about someone that you believe appeared to Joseph Smith in a vision.
Right.
So because you believe Jesus Christ appeared to Joseph Smith in a vision, you have no need to try and defend the Gospels.
To backtrack.
To backtrack. Because in 1820 he's a real legit thing, so we don't need to play with the history. Whereas I realized that for a lot of Christians that is what they have, and so that conversation with Bethel showed me that that is what so many of them lean upon and rely upon is, right, okay, what is their Christology when it comes to the Gospels?
Right,
how do they work out from the records they have who Christ is?
Yeah.
As well as then these sort of personal encounters and personal spiritual experiences they have. So that's kind of, I think, what I learned from this and what I want to keep learning more about and trying to understand more about.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you learn from this?
I think there were a few moments in not talking to the speakers, but in talking to the participants, where it struck me as like, oh, like you and I have like a certain privilege and a certain luxury of getting to do this all the time, where we get to talk about these deep ideas and explore, you know, like kind of existential questions. And I think for so many people who are lonely, they like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, or maybe not once in a lifetime, but like,
certainly
you know,
a much rarer opportunity than what we take for granted.
Like some people, you know, won't get another thing like this for another couple of years. I talked to a couple of people who told me, "Thank you for being here because I have no one else I can talk to about this stuff." And that breaks my heart. But it's like, you know, even outside of convincing people of even like the propositions that I'm trying to convince people of, which is like, hey, treat people more humanely, right? You know, like see people as individuals. Even outside of that proposition, there's just a more fundamentally basic thing, which is I think it's good for humans to have discussions.
To be connected,
And it's like, man, you know, like sometimes, you know, talking to some of these people about the dread of nihilism, right? For some of these non-religious people, I think just talking about that and being in a room where it's safe to talk about that is therapeutic and healing. And I felt like honored to be in a room where that got to happen. Yeah, man, because like the picture in my head is like some people, you know, these questions are just bouncing around like a pressure cooker, and like, hey, man, like let some steam out. Like you're in a safe place. Like tell us what you think, man. Like life's meaningless. We're all gonna die. Like let it out. And we're
I can hold that.
Yeah.
And I think if I can be candid, is one of the things I discovered from this is that for me, I always enjoyed going to Ex-Mormon events, right? So going to a big Thrive conference or going to other Ex-Mormon meetups or whatever it might be, or doing like an evening with Nemo or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And I was pretty sure I enjoyed it because I enjoyed facilitating conversation and being part of the discussion and giving people an opportunity to have these conversations.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure that was the motivation and it wasn't just pride and fame and whatever. But there's that niggle in the back of your mind, like, am I doing this just because it feels good to be known by people?
Sure,
right?
sure.
But then I go to this when no one knows who I am, pretty much. There's a couple of participants who kind of knew who I was and would come up and shake my hand. But by and large, everyone was flocking to you. Everyone knew who you were. And I was kind of just like, people are going to get to know me here.
Yeah.
And I still had so much fun.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice confirmation to me that, no, that is why I enjoy these events. That is why I enjoy spending time in these conversations. It's just the joy of having the conversation. And that's why I'm glad that my channel facilitates these conversations in people's homes when they share these videos with people, or when they show up in live chats, or just when they reach out in the comments section, you know. I love that it facilitates that and it provides a landing space for people to hear these things discussed that they don't get to hear discussed very often.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel we both, I think, expressed it at the time, the privilege that we feel to be invited into these rooms, and to be amongst these people that we may never have met. I would have never had the fascinating conversations I had this weekend.
Yeah.
Right, if you hadn't, you know, told Cassidy that she should reach out to me, and if I hadn't got a platform where it was worth reaching out to me, and all that sort of thing, right? And so yeah, I just feel really lucky to have been there and to have experienced something completely outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And still thrived and enjoyed it. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for coming, man.
And I'm going to release some of these videos that were recorded of these panel discussions, provided the tech all works out. I went full Mormon mode through a lot of the weekend. Like the lighting in the church went out on Saturday, and I'm the one that ended up on the phone to the electrician fixing it.
As in, like, you know, we're in a 200-year-old cathedral, and the entire, like, all the lights in the sanctuary just go.
Yeah.
And
so I'm running around checking fuse boards, main distributor boards, all this sort of stuff with the electrician on the phone, trying to find what's gone, and full Mormon mode of just like, yeah, okay, let's help out, let's get it done. If the technology has worked, and if we've got recordings and good audio, and even if the audio is not great, I'll be putting things out both here and on Patreon, discussions for people to come and listen to. So if you want to see those, they might be in this video above Jared's head right here. If you want to see more of Jared, go to Heliocentric. He's got more subscribers than me, so you know you won't struggle to find him. For now.
Yeah.
It's not a race. No. I'm loving where I'm at. So yeah. But if you do want to subscribe, you probably could, and it would be helpful. So yeah, take care everyone until next time. Jared?
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for being here.
What should they do?
Subscribe to Nemo.
No, and?
Go to church.
Yeah.
Or a mosque, or a ward, or a temple.
Yeah.
Or a synagogue.
They won't get into a Mormon temple, but other kinds of temples are available.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go to church.
Appreciate you.